Chicken and noodle casserole can be made healthy by substituting a few high calorie ingredients with some lower calorie ones. It's a great way to stretch your chicken if you don't have as much as you used to have, or if you want to make a dinner that is quick, easy, and convenient and has everything in one dish. Usually, chicken noodle casserole has egg noodles, but I'm using whole wheat rotini because that's what I had and because I think whole wheat pasta is more nutritious. And actually, I think the grooves of the rotini will hold the chicken, vegetables, and cheese better than egg noodles will, so it might actually end up being better. I have 8 ounces or half of a 1-pound box. I boiled the rotini on high for 12 minutes, gas mark 6 out of 6, with a little bit of salt in the water, and I actually used the chicken broth that I used for making the chicken, which I will get to it right now. I have about 1 cup of shredded chicken, I would say about 240, maybe 250 grams. I took chicken leg quarters that I had frozen, I defrosted them, I took off the skin, then I boiled them with a bay leaf, carrot, garlic, and celery. Then once that was done, I simmered it on low for about an hour and a half. I took the meat off the bone, and like I said, I used the broth to boil the pasta. I'm using 1 8-ounce block of mild cheddar cheese. I'm using half in the casserole and half on top, so you need 4 ounces to cover the top of this 8x8 dish. I'm using 225 grams, 8 ounces, half of a 1-pound bag of mixed vegetables. I microwaved these on high, covered for 4 minutes, and then when I took them out of the microwave, I took off the top so that the liquid could evaporate. You want them to be cooked, but not too cooked, and you definitely don't want them to be frozen because sometimes things don't thaw in casseroles as quickly as you would expect. Usually, chicken noodle casserole has a can of canned soup like cream of chicken or mushroom, something like that. But I'm using 1 can of evaporated milk. It's going to be a binding agent. It's going to be creamy, but a lot lower in calories, along with 1 egg. I'm sure you remember that technique from my mac and cheese casserole recipe. Some of the chicken noodle casserole recipes have sour cream. I'm using half of a cup, about 130 grams of nonfat Greek yogurt. Since I'm not using the canned soup because it's really high in fat, and I'm not using the sour cream, which I think will add some tanginess that the sour cream normally does, I'm adding a good amount of spices. I'm adding 1 teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, and black pepper, and then at least half a teaspoon each of parsley, oregano, and basil. I may add more, we'll see. This does not require things to be layered quite as much as the mac and cheese, I don't think. So I took my 8x8 casserole dish, I very lightly greased it with butter. I did add 1 tablespoon of butter to the pasta as it was cooling down. I know this is a healthy version, but I could not resist. Like I said, I think we can just throw everything together. But before I do, I'm going to make the binding agent. I'm going to pour the evaporated milk into a dish. I'm going to crack the egg off to the side just to make sure it's not a bad egg. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to add the Greek yogurt to this. One quick tip, you might want to use a fork to mix together the egg and evaporated milk and Greek yogurt, so I had to go get a fork. Like I said, I'm just going to throw this all together. I'm going to do a little bit of the pasta first. Maybe about a third. About a third of the chicken. Chicken there. You can use breasts. I know most of the recipes call for breasts. Third of the vegetables, but I like to boil chicken leg quarters. I don't like how boiled breasts turn out. If you're okay with that, then that's fine. It would be healthier, but like I said, honestly, I do not care for it. And with the cheese, I'm actually going to use half of it because I have another half of a block. Also, make sure you have a towel or two on hand. I'm going to pour in about a third of this. And honestly, if you forget this binding mixture until the end, or if you put in too much in the beginning, it'll be okay because I think we're going to mix it all together. And I've poured the mixture over the top of the mac and cheese in the past, and it was totally fine. So honestly, I think this is fairly forgiving. I'm going to put in some of the spices, about a third of the garlic and onion powder and black pepper. I'm going to do half of the Italian spices, we'll say, for lack of a better way of describing them. There we go. And now I'm just going to continue with another third of the pasta. Like I said, you do not have to worry about getting exactly a third. I think it'll be okay. When I took the meat off the bone, I did break it up a bit, but if you see a big piece like that, just break it up quickly. It's always good to find healthy versions of classic recipes because we cannot eat things like mac and cheese all the time. And I think most people know that macaroni and cheese is not healthy and that it should be a sometimes food. But something like a chicken and noodle casserole, it's not obvious that it's very high in calories because it has the canned milk and the sour cream. I think people realize that those are high calorie, but I don't think people really think of this type of casserole as something that is high calorie. So if you can make a version that is lower calorie and still tastes good, why not? Because then you'll save calories on one day and then you can eat your mac and cheese or pie, whatever it is, guilt-free on another day. You definitely could mix this all in a bowl and then put it into the dish, but honestly, I think that is just dirtying more than what needs to be dirtied, so I'm just doing this. The filling is now in the chicken and noodle casserole, and as you can see, it's packed very tightly. Now for the cheese on top. Like I said, I reserved half of the 8-ounce block of mild cheddar cheese to go on top because I want to have a nice thick layer on top. I am making this recipe during a time in the world when there is not as much meat as there used to be, and I just wanted to do this recipe because I think it's a good way to stretch meat. And honestly, with the cheese and the whole wheat pasta, which has a good amount of protein, actually, you should look it up, I don't think you'll miss it as much. I think, like I said, in a time in the world when there's not as much of certain things as there used to be, we kind of have to be inventive and find ways of stretching things. And I think this is a good way, like I said, of doing that without feeling like you're stretching it, like you're trying. And it is healthy. I tasted the binding liquid and it tastes very good. Oh, I wanted to say I added another half a teaspoon each of parsley, basil, and parsley, basil, and oregano. So 1 teaspoon each of black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, parsley, oregano, and basil. It makes it nice and easy. And the chicken leg quarters that I boiled, I think it was like 1.5 to 2 pounds with the skin on. So I am preheating the oven to 375 degrees and I'm going to bake this, I'm guessing, for 30 to 35 minutes, but I will keep my eye on it. My chicken and noodle casserole just came out of the oven. It was in at 375 for 35 minutes. Can't wait to let it cool, probably 15-20 minutes, and then dig in. And now it's time to cut into my chicken and noodle casserole. It's been resting for about half an hour, I think. Time got away from me, but that's okay. This smells incredible. Very delicious. I'm sure it's going to taste incredible. The smell reminds me of my southern tomato pie. There we go. And I think that's because of the combination of cheddar cheese and basil. Now it's time to give the chicken and noodle casserole a try. First off, a nice up close look. You can see the chicken, the vegetables, the rotini, the cheesy top. Let's give a taste. Good. Very good, very flavorful. I think it's a very good, healthy version of a recipe that's usually actually deceptively unhealthy. The Greek yogurt instead of the sour cream, cutting down on the cheese, not having the cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup, instead using the evaporated milk and the egg. I think that definitely helped to make it lighter yet still flavorful. If you're trying to stretch your meat but you want to do so in a healthy way, this is definitely a keeper. The basil, I think, goes really well with the cheddar, just like in the tomato pie. I think maybe even you could put a couple tomato slices. It would help make it a little bit more acidic to play with the basil and the cheddar a bit. Then it might be a bit runnier inside, but honestly, like I said, for a reduced fat version, this is a keeper. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you give this a try. Bye.